Well, welcome to Chapter 8. Our first section is on simplifying algebraic expressions. A lot of this you may already be familiar with, but we're going to go ahead and take it a step at a time just to make sure that there are no misunderstandings. Our objective is to use the distributive property to help us simplify some algebraic expressions. So the distributive property helps us to simplify something like 2 times the quantity x plus 3. When we do that, what we do is we multiply the 2 on the outside by everything that's on the inside of the parentheses, and we do those one at a time. So 2 times x gives us 2x, and 2 times 3 gives us 6. So these two expressions are called equivalent expressions because no matter what x is, both of these expressions will always give us the same value. It's just like having equivalent fractions, like we have 1/2 or 4/8 or 3/6 or 5/10. They mean the same thing, they're just written differently. So here are some examples. Distributive property. Multiply the 4 on the outside by everything on the inside, both the x and the 7. So we get 4x plus 28. On the right-hand side, even if our number is on the right-hand side of the parentheses, that does not matter. We're still going to multiply everything in the parentheses by what's on the outside of the parentheses. So we're going to do 5 times y, and then we're going to do 5 times 2. And so we end up with 5y plus 10. All right, go ahead and pause the video with those two examples. You should be able to do these 3 on your own, and we'll work through these when you come back. All righty, hope you gave those a try and had some good success. On the right-hand side, we're going to get 6 times a. And then we're going to add to that 6 times 4. 6 times a gives us 6a. 6 times 4 is 24. In the middle, we're going to get 8 times n. So 8 times n. And then we're going to add to that 8 times 3. There's our second one right there, 8 times 3. 8 times n without the parentheses is just 8n. 8 times 3 is 24, and there's a plus sign between them. And lastly, negative 2 times x plus a negative 2 times 1. And I'm going to put this one in parentheses as well. Negative 2 times x gives us negative 2x. And then negative 2 times positive 1 is a minus 2. So please keep in mind that I only want one sign in here. See how we had 2 signs? We want only one sign, no plus and minuses anymore. All right, writing expressions with subtraction using the distributive property. This time, instead of a plus sign here, we have a minus sign. And sometimes that'll might trip you up a little bit, but don't let it scare you. So let's just take a look at what happens. It's the same process. We could write that as p plus a minus 5. So we would have 6 times p plus 6 times negative 5, which gives us 6p plus a negative 30, or 6p minus 30. Keep in mind that I don't want, if you're simplifying all the way, we're going to have one sign in here. We always just have one sign. On the right-hand side, when we're multiplying by a negative, we're going to get negative 2 times x plus a negative 8. So we get negative 2 times x plus a negative 2 times a negative 8. Well, negative 2 times x is negative 2x, but negative 2 times negative 8 is a positive 16. So again, only one sign for all of your results. Here's your turn to try a couple of these. Pause the video, and we'll look at the solutions when you get back. Alrighty, hope you tried those. Let's take a look at how you did. On the left-hand side, we're going to get 3 times y plus 3 times negative 10. So this gives us 3y. 3 times negative 10 is a negative 30. In the middle, we have negative 7 times w plus a negative 7 times a negative 4. And so the first term becomes negative 7w. The second term, negative 7 times negative 4, is a positive 28. So only one sign. On the right-hand side, this time we have our number on the right, and we're going to multiply it through this way. Don't let that mess you up. So we have a negative 9 times n plus a negative 9 times a negative 2. So this one gives us, without the parentheses, negative 9n. And then a negative 9 times a negative 2 is a positive 18. All right, so when plus and minus signs separate an algebraic expression into parts, each part's called a term. And the number in front of a variable is called a coefficient. So in this example right here, there are 3 different terms, and 2 of them are called like terms because they both have x's. Those are like terms, or we sometimes call them similar terms, and they can be combined. When you have like terms, you can add them together or subtract them or whatever you need to do to simplify. So terms are separated by plus or minus signs, and then like terms or similar terms have the same exponent and variable. So for example, like terms, a little bit more on like terms, they have the same variable to the same power. So down here you have 3x squared and a minus 7x squared. Those are like terms because they both have x squared terms. Same thing here, xy squared, we have 8xy squared and 12xy squared. They have the same exponent and the same variables, so those could be combined together. They are like terms. However, when you have something like 10x squared z and 22xz squared, if you look at these, the x has a squared term, this x does not. So these are not similar terms and they cannot be combined. So make sure you understand the difference between like terms and unlike terms so that you're able to simplify algebraic expressions. Now when we have a number that does not have a variable with it, that's called a constant. All constants are like terms. So a term is a part of an algebraic expression separated by a plus or minus sign, and a coefficient is a number in front of a variable. So those are terms that you need to be able to work with and understand in algebra. Our directions here are to identify the terms, the like terms, the coefficients, and the constants in this expression, 6n minus 7n minus 4 plus n. So here we go. All we've done in this expression is to go ahead and put in red. Sometimes when we have just a variable without a number, that is assumed to be a 1 in front of that. So I just want to clarify that to make sure you understand. So what terms are alike? What terms do we have? How many terms do we have? Well, in this example, we actually have 4 terms. Here's a term, then there's a minus sign. There's a term, then there's a minus sign. There's a term, then there's a plus sign, and there's a term. So we should have 4 different terms, 6n, minus 7n, minus 4, and n. Now keep in mind, the terms have the sign that's in front of the number goes with it. Okay, so this minus 7n, the minus goes with it. It's not just 7n. So the coefficients, what are the coefficients? Now there's one tricky one here. The coefficients are the numbers in front of the variables, so 6, negative 7, and 1. Okay, this one is 1 for a coefficient. Which terms are like terms? Well, the like terms are 6n, minus 7n, and n. And which one is the constant? Negative 4 is the constant. Okay, remember the constant is the one that doesn't have a letter with it. So here are 2 expressions for you to try. Go ahead and pause the video and write out these 4 things. What are the terms? What are the coefficients? What are the like terms? And what are the constants? So write that out right here in this space, and I'll show you the answer when you come back. All right, hopefully you went ahead and did that. So we have 4 different terms, 9y, minus 4, minus 11y, and 7. The coefficients are the numbers in front of the letters, which would be 9 and negative 11. The like terms are 9y and minus 11y, but 2 coefficients, minus 4 and 7, are also like terms. So that was a little bit tricky. Hope you caught that. The constants are both negative 4 and 7. Remember, all constants are like terms. Over on the right side, we have 4 terms again, 3x, 2, negative 10, and negative 3x. The coefficients are 3 and negative 3. Those are the numbers in front of the variables. The like terms are 3x and minus 3x, but also 2 and minus 10 are like terms, and the constants are 2 and negative 10. Not too bad. So an algebraic expression is in simplest form if it has no like terms and no parentheses. You can use the distributive property to combine like terms, and that's called simplifying the expression. So here's an example of simplifying an algebraic expression. We have the expression 4y plus y. Well, 4y and y are like terms, so we can simplify that by adding those together, and that gives us 5y. Okay? So in this expression, we have 7x minus 2 minus 7x plus 6. What terms are alike? Well, 7x and minus 7x are like terms. I'm going to go ahead and circle those. This one and this one, okay, with the sign in front of it. Those are like terms. But we also have like terms for our constants, right? So negative 2 and 6 are like terms, just like 7x and minus 7x. So what we can do is we can rearrange those, and then we can add them together. 7x and minus 7x add to 0, and then negative 2 plus 6 gives us 4. All right, these are your chance to try what you've learned in the video. Go ahead and simplify each of these expressions and bring your answers to class. See you next time.